Hi, I'm Dr. Chloe Jordan, Senior Editor at NPP Digital Psychiatry and Neuroscience. Welcome to the DPN Deep Dive, our journal's AI-generated podcast that summarizes DPN articles into short episodes that you can listen to during your daily commute, or in my case, on my next long run. Let's dive in and get started.
Today, we're looking at something pretty cool, using simple, wearable tech like brain-sensing headbands to maybe spot mental health risks early on.
Yeah, specifically in people who use cannabis, we're moving beyond those huge lab scanners.
Right. And the focus is on cannabis users because, well, there's a known challenge there, isn't there?
Exactly. We know that even healthy folks who use cannabis regularly have, statistically speaking, a slightly higher risk of developing certain mental health conditions later.
So researchers are trying to find ways to get ahead of that.
Precisely. They're using mobile EEG, that's electroencephalography, basically brainwave scanning you can wear to look for potential early warning signs, putative biomarkers, as they call them.
Okay, let's dive into the actual research. We're looking at a paper titled Mobile EEG Examination of Putative Biomarkers of Mental Health in Individuals That Use Cannabis.
And this work comes from researchers like Connor H. Murray, Kaihan Dinesh, and Ziva D. Cooper at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles.
Great. So, study one. They looked at about 100 people, right? What did they find regarding cognitive well-being first?
Okay, so they measured something called prefrontal broadband power. Now, normally, as your brain gets older, activity gets more asynchronous, more complex, doing lots of different things efficiently.
Right. Less synchronized means more complexity, kind of.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. But what they found was that people who used more cannabis over the year actually showed increased prefrontal broadband power.
Increased power. So that's bad.
Well, it suggests less of that asynchronous activity, maybe less efficient processing, or a pattern that looks a bit less mature, you might say. It's something subtle you wouldn't pick up just by asking questions.
Huh. Okay. But was this true for everyone in the study?
No. And this is really key. That link between higher cannabis use and this increased broadband power, it was mostly driven by the male participants.
Really? Just the men?
Primarily, and especially the youngest group they looked at, so ages like 21 to 23.
Wow. Okay. So right away, it's clear that, how cannabis might relate to brain activity isn't the same for everyone. Age and sex matter.
Yeah.
A lot.
Exactly. Huge individual variability.
Okay, so that's the cognitive side. What about the emotional well-being marker they looked at? That was left prefrontal alpha power.
Right. So this marker showed a connection with self-reported anxiety scores. They used the Beck Anxiety Inventory, the BAI.
Did it also link to depression?
No, interestingly, no link to depression scores. And here's the other twist.
Let me guess. Another sex difference.
You got it. But this time, the relationship between this alpha power marker and anxiety, it was only present in the female participants.
Wow, okay. So broadband power in cannabis, mainly in young males. But this alpha power and anxiety link is specific to females.
That's what this first study suggested. Different markers, different connections, different groups.
Okay, so these markers seem to reflect sort of stable individual differences. But did they react to immediate stress? That led to the second study, right? Using a stress test.
Yep, study 2. Smaller group, about 40 people. They used the cold presser test, basically, sticking your hand in ice water. It's a standard way to reliably induce a bit of acute stress and anxiety.
Fun times. Did it work? Did people feel more anxious?
Oh, yeah. The self-reports showed a very clear, significant jump in anxiousness during the cold water part compared to a warm water control. The stress induction definitely worked.
But the key question, did that brain marker, the left prefrontal alpha power linked to anxiety in women, did it change during the stress?
That's what they look for. And the answer was no.
No change at all.
The left prefrontal alpha power stayed the same. It didn't differ between the baseline warm water condition and the stressful cold water condition.
Okay, so putting someone under stress made them feel more anxious. But this particular brain signature didn't react in the moment.
Exactly, which really strengthens the idea that this alpha power marker isn't measuring like your mood right now. It's not reflecting that temporary state anxiety induced by the ice water.
Instead, it seems to reflect, what? Something more stable.
Precisely. It seems to be tapping into trait anxiety, those more stable individual differences in underlying emotional well-being or disposition. It's measuring something more fundamental about the person, not just how they feel minute to minute.
That makes sense. It's like a baseline reading.
A good way to put it. Now, we do need to mention some limitations, of course.
Always important. What were they?
Well, for one, these mobile headbands are great for accessibility, but they only use 2 sensors on the prefrontal area. Lab-based EEG uses many, many more, so you get less detailed data.
Okay, limited scope in terms of sensors. Anything else?
Yeah, the other big one is that they only studied people who use cannabis, so we don't know if these brain patterns, these potential biomarkers, are specific to cannabis use. So maybe people who use alcohol or other substances might show similar patterns, or maybe non-users with high trait anxiety.
Exactly. Future research really needs to compare these findings with other groups. People using other substances, people using nothing to figure out if these markers are truly cannabis-specific risk indicators, or maybe related to broader mental health vulnerabilities.
Gotcha. But even with those limitations, this feels like a step forward, doesn't it, using this kind of accessible tech?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's still early days, but these studies help validate the idea that you can use mobile EEG devices to track potential brain and mental health markers out in the real world, not just in a fancy lab.
And the potential implications are pretty significant if this pans out. Imagine, being able to monitor aspects of your own brain health risk profile using accessible technology, maybe catching things much earlier.
That's the long-term vision, I think, making brain health monitoring more proactive and accessible. It's promising stuff.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Thanks for listening to the DPN Deep Dive. Until next time.